is going on, everyone? Freshman Jason here. Just finished my first quarter here at UCLA. Honestly, a pretty tough one. But yeah, I will be your first host for this portion of the video in which I get to talk about all of my freshman experiences here at UCLA. We have a lot to cover for this, so let's just get going right now. Alright, so our college journey here at UCLA began in July of 2019. Freshman orientation. Freshman Jason right here is just very excited about being able to go to college and experience a new life. So with orientation, I definitely did a lot of things, such as choosing my classes for the first time, meeting my first ever UCLA friends that sadly I didn't have as deep of a connection with them one school year in now, and be able to do important UCLA true Bruin traditions, such as touching that right there, the inverted fountain, for the very first time. I can't touch that for another 3 years. But yeah, orientation is just this kind of thing that you just have to experience once, and you just kind of forget a lot about it later on once you actually go to college and start your freshman year. But yeah, that's all I want to talk about for orientation. There's a lot more important things that I have to talk about, such as, so 2 months later, on September 20th, 2019, I moved in to college for the first time into this building in the back called 𝙒𝙖𝙙 Hall. And honestly, this was by far the best experience I had while staying here at UCLA for my freshman year. Not only was I able to meet my 2 brand new roommates, Drew and Alan, I was also paired into a living learning community here on the 5th floor called Global Health, in which for the floor, almost 80% of the people here are considered pre-meds. And even those who aren't pre-meds are most likely also a life science major. I also had 2 really good RAs for my freshman year, Alex and Gianna, who just hosted so many fun experiences that we can remember for all of our freshman year. As a group, we went to Santa Monica together. We also did plenty of karaoke nights throughout the year, and I was also able to represent my floor during a college quiz bowl tournament. Even though we lost pretty badly in the first round, it was still a very fun experience to participate in. However, one downside about living in the dorms, I would say, is that you kind of also meet some weird people inevitably. Friday nights here at the dorm, it's a very strange time. You not only have people who are in the study lounge grinding away and studying for midterms they have on Monday, and in the same boat, you have people just getting absolutely wasted on Friday nights. Personally, for me, I'm not a huge party goer, so I kind of spent a lot of my Friday nights just hanging out with friends or editing YouTube videos. And speaking of which, I should show you my next location. I took my first ever class here at UCLA in the lecture hall right behind me. Young freshman Jason was ready to take on his first ever college class of Math 33A, also known as linear algebra. And honestly, I don't even know what young Jason was thinking taking this class. For starters, he did not need this class for his major. He just took math for fun because he was good at math in high school. So now he had to spend the rest of fall quarter taking one of these classes, specifically designed for 2nd and 3rd year students who are mainly majoring in engineering or computer science. Boy oh boy, did this class absolutely kick young Jason's butt. He didn't know what to do. He didn't go to office hours to get help. He didn't create a study group with friends. And all he did was to do practice problem after practice problem. It may have worked for the first midterm for him because he did get a B+, which is pretty good. But when the second midterm came and a lot of things are more theoretical, young freshman Jason just absolutely flunked that test. And it was actually the first time young Jason deep down cried inside of college. And now, fast forward to around a quarter and a half, everything was going pretty well. I was studying up here in Powell for my upcoming chemistry final. Luckily for me, I actually did get my very first A in that subject, but it came at a very, very devastating cost. March 13th, 2020, that is definitely a day that has shook up not only this college campus, but college campuses around the country, in which the coronavirus pandemic has moved college to all online for the rest of the year. And that means it has marked my freshman year to an abrupt end. And honestly, I think it's such a huge loss to me. During the first 2 quarters, I kind of didn't realize how fast time went by here in college. Spent most of my time just looking down at a textbook, studying my way back to a GPA that I really wanted. And in the process, I wasn't able to experience my freshman year to the fullest extent that I wanted it to be. All of my extracurriculars came to a halt as well, and I had to move out of my dorm a whole quarter early. So then that means I spent the spring quarter of my freshman year all online. So we'll see you in a bit. Oh, damn. That was a 1.5 year long walk, so I'm pretty tired after that. And this is sophomore year Jason here, and we're going to talk about how life has been over the past 1.5 years through this whole coronavirus year. Now obviously, because of coronavirus, I did not have an in-person college experience my sophomore year. So as a result, I have spent most of my time of the past 1.5 years right here, back in my own bedroom in San Diego. Now there are a couple pros and cons to all of this. We'll get through that through this chapter of the video. But for starters, I would say the main pro of this whole coronavirus year is that academically, I feel a lot more sharper and I was able to do a lot better. I think part of the reason on why I was able to feel that way is just because I did not have as many distractions going on with my life because of this period of time. I didn't really have the pressure to find research stuff because of COVID, because no lab was taking research positions. I also was able to cruise through school a lot more easier just because I was able to go through online college a lot more smoother than in-person college, since I was used to doing more homework assignments and taking less tests, so I felt like I was able to do a lot better because of that way. But yeah, thanks to this period of time, I was able to grind through a lot of my major coursework, and as a result of that, I think once we return, I no longer really have to do more than 3 classes a quarter for the rest of my college career, which in a sense is actually a great boost because then I can use this time to catch up on everything else that I missed, hopefully. And now, let's go again, take a short walk, and let's talk about some of the cons with COVID going on and all of that outside. But yeah, even though academics over this past year, I feel like it has been going pretty well. I've always had one constant thought on my mind throughout this period of COVID. I feel like with my second year of college, being home and everything, it feels exactly like how I felt when I went through high school. Since by doing so, I really felt like I wasn't independent enough for the entire year. Like my morning routine has been the same pretty much since high school. Barely able to see a couple of my college friends aside from a group vacation that we did to Arizona over the summer. And I guess a little bit of going to LA every now and then. Stay at my friend's apartment during the later part of my second year. For the most part, it was just me in San Diego, hanging out with my high school friends, playing a lot of Among Us during the first half of COVID, and a lot of basketball and hanging out and getting food the second half of COVID. But yeah, overall I was still really frustrated of this time. I would say I did have quite some fun doing the small adventures that I've done during the second half of COVID. Stuff like hanging out with my buddies that were able to have on-campus housing at UCSD, tag along with them during the days I wasn't volunteering at UCSD's vaccination site. I got to be able to see UCLA make the Final Four of March Madness. Granted, it didn't end the way that I really wanted them to win. That at least injected a bit of school spirit within me during COVID, I feel. Finally, be able to go to Berkeley, see a couple of my Berkeley friends while school is in session with them, while it's not with us because of the semester quarter system difference. But I feel like even though changes have not been the most immediate and progress seems really slow, during this time I'm grateful that I'm at least able to be semi-productive, sort of. Like when we know things are returning to normal, I slowly began to learn more independent skills like cooking at home, being able to constantly tidy the place up, as well as a lot of non-academic skills that might be useful in my life, learning how to rent an apartment, start a lease, learning how the stock market works, starting a Roth IRA, setting myself up for future success like that. I also got to join a really cool club at UCLA while through Zoom, and that's called Bruin Creators. During the second half of my second year, I actually got promoted all the way up to president. So I guess now with in-person things slowly coming back, I'm sure it's kind of on me now to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So I'm actually really nervous about all of that going on. But yeah, during this period of COVID, I feel like it has definitely taught me some pretty important lessons in life. Everything, like it or not, has a certain end date. You won't know that end date until it's actually there. Thought COVID would have been gone by 2 weeks. That 2 weeks turned into 4, turned into 6, turned into 6 months, turned into a whole year, and now a year and a half. I think it's safe to say it is temporarily on pause and over for now. And second thing is, you can't really plan for the situation no matter how hard you try. As a final remark, before I do venture out on my own again to start my junior year, definitely I wish that I can continue to be more independent, since that was definitely lacking over the past year and a half. And 2, I hope that I can make the most out of my time that I have left of college. When I come to think about it, I am more than halfway done with college, so I feel pretty old now when I return. I would say this path of college, as things go along, definitely get a lot harder, and I really wish that junior year me can take the lessons that I learned throughout this period of time, have those goals in his mind, and be able to just make the smart choices. Other than that, I think it is time for a backpack change, and let's head on to junior year. Alright, 1 year later. Thank you so much, sophomore year Jason. This is junior year Jason now, and I'm here to talk about how junior year was like for me, as well as this past year and how much it has shaped my life overall. But I would say if I can summarize up this past year throughout a singular sentence, it would definitely be that I worked hard and played an okay amount. Junior year, I would say I definitely had more of a life and I had a lot more fun throughout this year. And you know, the return to in-person classes definitely helped out a bit. During fall quarter, I had my first in-person neuro class. And honestly, that was pretty tough, but I was able to persevere through it. And yeah, overall I was just pretty surprised that everything went pretty smoothly in terms of academics. And at the same time, I was able to learn a lot more effectively when compared to my sophomore year. So overall, I'm pretty proud of the progress that I made in terms of academics. Extracurricular wise, I think I still had a very decent year. For starters, I was able to bring my club Bruin creators for the first time in person, in which I was able to connect to some YouTubers who are currently at UCLA studying as well, so that's definitely an awesome experience. I was also able to go and travel around LA a lot more often, so I was able to make a lot more fun memories this year, from going to my first ever UCLA football game, to attending a private 𝙎𝙬𝘎𝙎𝙎 concert. Like, all of these small memories might not mean a lot in the moment. When you look back on it all within a year, I can safely say it has been one of the most fun times in my life. There were small inconveniences that happened throughout the school year, which included the Omicron variant shutting everything in person down for over 4 weeks, as well as me getting COVID myself at the end of the school year, which ultimately forced me to leave school early and take all of my finals virtually. But at this point, COVID is basically a theme of my college experience. And really, those are now just minor inconveniences. And now, let's go outside for a bit, grab a cup of coffee, and talk about the main conflict that I faced throughout junior year. But now that we're back here on campus, let's talk about, I think, what is probably my biggest conflict that I had throughout junior year. And that right there, if you didn't notice throughout this past year, is that I actually didn't make a whole bunch of YouTube videos. I filmed a couple videos here and there throughout my junior year. I just never posted all of them except for 2 of them. And I felt like there was a lot of reasons on why that happened for me. I would say one of the biggest reasons in which I didn't do as much YouTube as I hoped was probably because of academics. Like, yeah, regardless, neuro is still hard, and I definitely had to put a lot more effort into neuroscience classes than any class that I've ever taken before. So whenever I had an option to either study or make a YouTube video, chances are I probably chose to study 90% of the times. And at the end of the day, I feel like that was probably a worthy investment. And by actually having a lot more fun experiences without carrying my camera around. And I felt like that definitely helped me enjoy the things in the moment without seeing every fun thing as a little job and a video that I eventually must post every week. But another reason on which I think I didn't do as many YouTube videos is because of the culture that has changed and the perception around YouTubers throughout this past year. Early on in the school year for junior year, I actually went to VidSummit. Something that I realized that I'm different about them is that I'm not treating YouTube as like my job per se. The ultimate small step for me right now is to be able to get into medical school. But when I was at a VidSummit conference, a lot of the people in which I talked to were actually high school dropouts that wanted to make YouTube videos for a living. But I would say my younger self has definitely tried that a lot, that it might not be for me, so I'm perfectly happy in keeping YouTube as my mini hobby. And yeah, one more note on the culture change is that throughout this past school year here at UCLA, there were definitely a lot more YouTube pranksters that came onto our campus and made such a huge scene within all of our lecture halls. So another part of the reason in which I didn't film as much of my class stuff, if I film something in a lecture hall, it is not to make a huge disturbance of it and get myself kicked out. Rather, it's just to shoot some B-roll so I can put it into like a day in my life video. So that is definitely something that's a bit demotivating, and it's for sure a reason in which I haven't been as comfortable with myself filming in a lecture hall, knowing what other people are doing and what other people now think. I guess one change I forgot to talk about is I did move into an apartment. I don't think a lot of people realize that since I only made 2 videos. But I'll say this change is definitely a bit different than what I was previously used to in college. Like, now I have to cook my own food and keep this place a lot more tidier. Unfortunately right now rent is a bit too expensive, so we're actually going to be moving out of this place. But fortunately for us though, we still have 1 more year to go. Time for me to spend some time studying for the MCAT and moving everything out. It's a bit bittersweet, but I'll let senior year Jason take over this point. And with that, welcome to the final chapter of this video. It is now the week of graduation, and we are almost done with senior year. Honestly, I'm just glad that this series is finally over since I've been filming since freshman year, so hopefully all the clips turn out well. But to recap senior year, I would definitely say senior year has been very memorable and probably also one of my more favorite years out of the four. This whole year probably was like the first normal year since my freshman year. So I think it's safe to say that COVID is completely gone, because this past year we did so many different activities that would not have been possible my sophomore and junior year. Academically, I had a lot of classes in person and they did require attendance, so no more Zoom University. It definitely got a little bit more challenging balancing my academics again, but luckily for me I was able to finish up my degree in winter quarter, so my spring quarter schedule was not that challenging academic wise. Yeah, I would say my senior year academics was probably the least significant part of this year. I felt like what was more important is that this year I actually got to join a new club. So I was actually the director of media for 𝙎𝙐𝙎𝙎 this year, in which I not only got to help out a lot just performing EKGs in underserved areas in LA, but I also was the videographer, so I took a lot of photos and made a lot of videos for the club specifically. I would say I was very grateful that I was able to join 𝙎𝙎𝙎𝙎 during my final year and be able to just help and contribute to the club. I would definitely say that club has been probably one of the most interesting clubs that I've been a part of here while at UCLA. And that was actually super nice because growing up I played a lot of sports and I actually got to learn a lot about sudden cardiac arrest, speak to a lot more professionals within the field, and be able to make a lot more friends that I don't think I would have made without this club. And another important highlight of this year is that I actually was able to also continue and do more research. Glad that I'm able to experience what it's like to be able to focus on some clinical research. And in my research lab we got to study a lot regarding COVID-19, so that's definitely pretty interesting, I would say. And it's definitely really insightful to see how clinical research is done, and I got to talk to a lot of cool patients. I dedicated a lot of my time actually this year to my research lab, so I'm pretty proud of that as well. But yeah, for sure this year I felt like I put a lot more focus on my career in healthcare, and I would say I definitely got to experience a lot more meaningful stuff because of it. So I would say I was pretty proud of everything I did actually. But I will also say I felt like I had a lot of fun this year as well with my friends. Even though I felt like this year everyone was a lot more busier and we couldn't really make as much time as we wanted to, we were still able to do a lot of pretty cool things. We did a lot of trivia nights, we went to UCLA football games and basketball games. Overall, I felt like we were able to do a lot more school-spirited stuff than before. Additionally, I was able to save up some money and go vacation a bit during my breaks. I thought it was pretty cool being able to travel a little since I didn't do a lot of traveling the previous years. And yeah, even though I do regret a little bit about a lot of the canceled plans that we had, but in the end, I feel like we put in our best effort and we were able to make quite a lot of good memories this final year. And yeah, speaking of friends, I think it is time for me to meet up with some friends, and we are actually going to do another UCLA tradition in this video. So let's do that real quick before we talk about some of the regrets I had in this year and college as a whole, I guess. 4 years ago actually, inside my orientation vlog, we touched this fountain as a way to be Bruin ties, and we aren't able to touch it until 4 years later. But now 4 years has passed, we have officially finished our last classes, and you know, we have officially graduated basically. So me and my friends here, we're about to finish off our college careers. We're gonna just touch the fountain. Alright, 3, 2, 1, let's go. We did it! Whew. That is basically it. So, pretty cool stuff. You know, we'll miss this place. So yeah, regrets. It's inevitable, but you know, sometimes you just learn that you have to deal with it, accept it, and move on. And honestly, I do regret that I wasn't able to make the time to just create weekly videos or even a video every 2 weeks. Like, I felt like that was something that I definitely struggled with between balancing academics and YouTube. But I do hope with this upcoming gap year, since I don't have a lot of academics to worry about, I could slowly be able to make these videos again. And especially one thing that didn't really help with it is that I felt a little bit burnt out trying to make different videos and photos. I spent the last 3 months leading to this point just learning how to take good photos, slowly build up a photography portfolio, then I can take photos during graduation season as well. And the second regret I have that pertains more to college as a whole is that I wish I was able to network more with my peers. Obviously, COVID didn't really help with that. I lost 2 whole years of interactions. At the same time, during my freshman year and senior year, I wish I just talked and got to know people a lot more. I feel like YouTube partly contributed to me not getting to know people as often as well. Just because a lot of people that come up to me, they already know who I am, but I know nothing about them. So I guess the learning lesson that I can take away from it is to just set my ego aside and be able to get to know people more on a more meaningful level. But yeah, I guess that's just all the regrets that I have. So finally, and with that, thank you for watching my college recap series. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took 4 years to make, but other than that, I want to wish you guys all a 𝙎𝙐𝙎𝙎, and we'll see you in another video. Peace.